You want to go over the body count thing we debated last time. You made a poll on your Instagram, so it would be dope to go over that. You agree body count matters. You were playing devil's advocate last time, but I do think it's not the deal breaker you guys think it is, or that some guys even claim it is. My poll reflects that. So what was the finding in your poll?
So I made a Instagram poll and asked their age, religion, political background, whatever, to account for all the variables.
Sure.
And like 95% probably said they don't care. It's not a deal breaker. Y'all can go check it out. It's a highlight on my Insta.
This is you should pull it up because I'd like to see how it's phrased.
I said, no, without adding commentary, age, just answer these questions. Age, religion, whatever. Is body count a deal breaker if you're otherwise compatible, which is what we discussed last time.
If you're otherwise okay, so everything is good except you fucked 1,000 guys.
Yeah.
Okay. So and they said that that's not a deal breaker.
Very few people cared. Y'all should pull it up.
So.
And that's what I was arguing last time, and I think it should be actually for multiple reasons. And I can go over them all if you want, but.
So you think that we should raise awareness that you should be asking women their body counts more?
I don't think there's a reason. I don't think it's negative in any way, too.
Yeah. So then I agree with you that there are far too many men who are willing to accept women with really high body counts. It's absolutely revolting to me, some of the numbers that I've heard from women, where I'm just like, I don't even know how you get out of bed.
Well, actually, we were just talking about this. I'm like, how that, because last time I was on here, I think the comedian chick said like 300 or something. I was like, how?
Because she walks around with a mattress strapped to her back?
Like, literally, what are you doing? But I think it's the same for men because the physiological effects are the same. You're still more likely to have STDs. You're still down-regulating your dopamine and oxytocin receptors. True. It is true.
The STD thing, it's not true.
Because women men can't get HPV?
No, women are more susceptible to STDs. Just for anatomical reasons. But on top of that, there is another differential here.
With gay men?
Hold on. Stop. You gotta let me. You can't keep fucking interrupting.
Okay, sorry.
Okay, so in addition to anatomical reasons, women will tend to gravitate towards high status men. So women are more likely to end up sharing men.
Okay. No argument there.
Yeah. So if all the girls are trying to fuck Kanye or Chris Brown, who fucked thousands of women,
yeah,
and women are attracted to men of status and all this sort of stuff, the men that women tend to pick when it comes to their promiscuity is they have access to those men.
Yeah, I think that women will tolerate more.
It's not a put off for these women. Whereas if a man was privy to the fact that a woman's fucked 1,000+ men, no matter her status or her attractiveness level, it's more likely to be a put off.
Well, yeah, I'm not disagreeing on the fact that like the majority of women will accept it more than men will. I'm saying it should be an issue for either sex because of you could still get an STD. You could still have to deal with the other party's dependence. You could still have someone with a avoidant attachment style who can't form proper connections because their, hormones and neuroreceptors are just totally screwed. So I think it should be concerning to either partner, but I'm not saying that it is as much for women as it is men. I think you're right about that. And I think that's silly of women, but it's a thing, yeah.
Okay. So your position is what?
You think it's silly of women?
Yes.
So I wonder, how does a woman determine a man has status?
Most women probably go for his money, his fame, all the things that he mentioned.
And also, what is considered status for men is beautiful women, right?
Sure.
So the more beautiful women that a woman has banged, it seems obvious to me that if women are going for men of status, that if beautiful women were not going for those men, they would think there was something wrong with them. Yeah,
but I think that's silly, and that might be like my touch of the tism where I don't care about like social norms, but like I think what we should value is a man's integrity, his character, his ability to be a good partner for you, not the fact that he's banged a bunch of hot chicks.
But but let's separate these two concepts, the descriptive from the prescriptive, right? So I agree with you that people should base things around virtue, right? I agree with that. But they don't. So descriptively, they don't. Doesn't it track that women, if they were looking for men of status, would be looking at men who banged a lot of women?
Well, yeah, I'm not
because
denying
that would prove that women desire him. That's part of their status, right?
Right, but that's why I said I think it's silly. Like,
But is it silly? Because
because
in reverse, that is not the case. It does the exact opposite for women, where men go, "Oh, well, your status is fucking garbage, right? Because you slept with a lot of men." Yeah. So I'm not sure.
I just think it should be the same.
Well,
I don't think it is.
I love the idea of both parties gravitating towards each other based on virtues, right? I think that that's great, but that is not the case.
Well, yeah, I'm not arguing that it's not.
Yeah. So, I mean, prescriptively, I would agree with you that they should move towards virtues, but they don't. So that if they don't, right, then how can you give the advice to men, for instance, not to do this thing? How can you give them the advice to not do this thing if women will reject them if they don't do the thing? That's my whole thing. That's what I'm wondering.
Well, you shouldn't. Well, I guess it's. Well, you're religious, right?
Yeah.
So you shouldn't base it off of rejection.
Give me a secular argument.
Well, you should base it off of like what the Bible tells you to look for in a partner.
That's a religious argument,
right? That's what I was saying.
Give me a secular argument, non-religious.
You should care about your sexual health. You should care about your mental health, like all of the things.
Those don't seem to be things which are highly affected.
I mean, I get what you're saying, but just know that there are women like me who don't find it attractive, who the slightest bit of competition turns me off. I don't want anything to do with it. Mm-hmm. Just wait for that person rather than risk all this other shit.
If the guy is really high status, he doesn't give a shit about you. He's going to have tons of women who look like you.
But we're talking about the average Joe, right?
No. In fact, the opposite. So we're talking about high status men. So Brian's argument. So Brian's argument. No, not just Kanye, right? That's super ultra high status, right? Brian's argument to you is he's saying, look, women seem to move towards men in a smaller group, right? So this is why men end up with thousands of sex partners. Some men, it's because they have access to them, right?
Yeah,
they plainly have access to them.
There's no disagreement there.
But if it is true that it is looked at by women as being odd or weird that women won't go near a guy, right, because they also perceive that as social status, then how would you actually convince a man who wanted to attract really beautiful women to not have lots of sex with other beautiful women, knowing that that would be descriptively an attractive function for him?
Because there's other attractive functions, and if you want to bang a bunch of beautiful women, then I wouldn't argue that at all, by all means.
No, but it's actually going to lead to banging more beautiful women, right?
Agreed. But are you looking for the one?
So like,
are you looking to bang a bunch of beautiful women?
I mean, what are you going to say to one of these kind of 10%ers or 20% men who are like, oh, gee, well, let's see. I could bang one chick forever, or I could bang tons of hot chicks, and the more hot chicks I bang, the more likely hot chicks are going to let me bang them.
No, I definitely get that mentality.
Yeah. So I'm just
if people want to live that way, that's fine.
I've had a problem with arguing against this for a long time from a secular perspective. From a religious perspective, it's very clear. But from a non-religious perspective, how the hell are you going to convince men who are banging really, really attractive women, and the more attractive women they bang, seemingly the more attractive women they can bang, it seems to me like it's impossible to convince them otherwise.
I mean, you can tell them other things, but it's probably not going to be as big of a deterrent as you would like it to be. But also, it's not my objective as a libertarian. I don't give a shit what anybody does. Like, do what you do. So that's,
You're a libertarian?
That's the closest
so gross
alignment that I can find. Really, I'm like a centrist, but...
Too much Jordan Peterson. Too much Jordan Peterson.
Maybe so. Maybe it's too much Alex Jones.
Yeah, too much of him too. Okay, so I guess that's the only place we could really go with it then.
Mm-hmm. You said you also disagree with Andrew on the level of submission a woman should have to her husband. I don't know if we kind of already covered that or if you wanted to.
No, we pretty much cleared it up.
Did we?
Yeah. Because he's saying that like there is conversations just at the very end. If let's say you have a budget of $2,000 this month and your wife is like, but I want this purse, and you're like, well, sorry for your luck, I make the money. That's like, okay, fair. I but it was just based off of one clip that I got the impression that, like, because in this clip you said something to the effect of, like, if I don't want to talk about it, I don't give a shit. And I think you should view your partner respectfully enough to always include them.
Hold on. Damien, just don't even touch the keys, please. All right. Okay, go ahead.
So I kind of got the impression that maybe, like, you don't include her at all and are just kind of like, which I obviously I know that it wouldn't be ever, but I kind of got the impression that maybe it's the majority of the case that you, like, don't have the discussion. And I think it's fine to have the ultimate say, but respect your partner enough to talk about it. But you clarified all that earlier, so.
Well, now it's murky again, right?
Exactly.
So, let's move back. I don't actually have an objection to a man being an authoritarian tyrant from your perspective in his relationship. It's completely non-bothersome to me. I think it's fine.
But you're a Christian.
Yeah.
Okay.
Do you realize Christianity is a patristic faith?
I understand that it says that the husband also has duties to his wife too.
Yes,
like
that's
loving
correct.
his wife like Jesus loved the church. And I don't think Jesus, like, screw you.
I'm sorry, did Jesus have to justify anything to the church?
No, but he talked to his disciples.
Sure.
And
Did he have to justify anything to him?
No, but that goes back to the last.
So who's the leader?
We don't disagree there.
Okay, so if you're the leader and you say, well, you're leading me wrong, then who's the leader then? You?
If you're a Christian, the leader should be God. So if your husband is not leading in a biblical way, you don't just submit to him and forego God.
Right? Christ?
Right.
Head. The reflection in a marriage of the head is the husband.
Right. So, but
and
if
the body,
he's not leading in a
the
biblical
body,
way,
the body is the woman, right?
Sure, but if he's not leading in a biblical way,
that's not what Paul says. Paul doesn't say if they're not leading. What Paul says specifically is even if your husband's not leading in a biblical way, right, you should stay married to him anyway.
Yeah, I don't know about all that.
Well, that's what he says.
But there's a lot of contradictions when it comes to this. And
well, then how could you?
Honestly,
how are you going to tell people what they should
contradictions-
do as Christians then if you believe
Because Paul
it's
had more
contradictory?
contradictions toward all of the other disciples than any of them. So, but
There's no
regardless,
contradictions.
You don't think?
No.
Okay. We should take notes on all the things we're going to come back to. Maybe not on here, but I'll find your Twitter.
Every biblical contradiction can easily be reconciled, and most of it is because you don't have contextualization. You read the Bible like it's an IKEA manual. It's not, right? You have to. I
don't read the Bible that way.
Yeah, I mean, how else could you read it?
You read it like it's the living word
of
everything. Of
what does
life.
that mean? How? What? You're the interpreter, right?
Yes.
Okay, so how else would you read it other than an IKEA manual?
Well, you have to read it with, like, historical context, who it's being spoken to.
Okay.
All of the things.
Okay, so then you would agree that these contradictions that you state can be easily reconciled.
I think usually I'm not a biblical scholar, so I can't pretend that I know all of them.
But when it comes to Paul, Paul said stay married anyway, right? But here's why he said that. He said because even if you're staying married to this person who's fallen away, the chances that they find their way back is much higher. So here's the thing, right?
Then, like, what if they don't?
Here's the idea. The idea, and I'll just give you the logical exercise, and you can see if you can correct it or hand it back to me.
Okay.
The idea is this. There can only be a leader, one leader. You agree, right?
I think...
if you're both leaders, then neither are leaders.
I think we can tag team on different topics, but I'll bite here.
Yeah,
sure.
so, okay, if you're a 4-star general, you're not in charge of another 4-star general, but you're in charge of all 3-star generals, right?
Okay.
You agree with that?
Yeah.
Okay, so there's one leader. And then here, there's one person who's following the leader, correct? You agree with that? Okay, so anytime the follower of the leader says, you aren't leading me right, so no, who's now in charge? Who's the leader now?
Okay, so but let's say in one example, let's say the Christian husband suddenly becomes pagan and is like, we're not doing this anymore. We're not going to church.
What did Paul say?
Yeah.
He said to stay married, but
he might stay married, but that doesn't mean that you have to follow the leadership in that regard, though.
I think that, and this is explained very well in Orthodoxy, and the reason I bring up Paul is just because I think it's really funny to use that example against people who are naysayers, but it has to comport with reason. And so reason, your husband can't tell you to sin. He can't tell you to go do a gangbang.
Exactly.
He can't
That's
tell
the
you to
point
go
that I'm
blow.
making.
He can't tell you to go blow other men for his own personal immunity. He can't tell you to do any of that stuff. Okay,
Right.
Great. What about if he just says, shut up. I'm not going to justify anything to you. What's the sin?
Oh, I'm not saying it's sinful.
Well, then what's the problem? You just don't like it, right? That's the problem.
It's
You
not
just
going to
don't
work
like
for
it.
me.
Yeah, you don't like it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the thing is, though, is like it's not a sin. You can't point to anything he's doing wrong, right? It's just you don't like it. And so when people say, "Well, that's not very Christian," when I point out, I'm going to give you
Could
the
be.
2,000
I guess
years of
technically it could
history
be.
where it sure looked pretty Christian. I would just like to note, how is it not?
I mean, I guess technically it could be, but I was speaking in the context of like your relationship dynamic, and
What
For
would
me,
my personal
I
relationship
guess it doesn't
dynamic
matter
have to do
too
with
much.
anything?
But that's where the initial thing came from, because I heard you say that, and I was like, "Oof, are you really like, are you really doing it?"
Yeah, sometimes I'm an absolute tyrant. I'm like,
I believe it.
I go, I don't fucking care. Sometimes
I believe it.
don't care, and that's fine. I don't have to care. So the thing is, but I'm going to take this a step further and say that men who are running their marriage, right? If they are like, look, I really don't want to consult you about, I don't know, almost anything. I don't actually see a problem with that.
Do you think that maybe that contributes to like divorce rates and the fact
Well,
that women
first of all, I
file,
don't
like,
even think it
90% of the
happens
time?
that much.
Okay.
Just so you know.
Okay.
In fact, I'd say if it happened more, it would decrease divorce rates probably.
Well,
If they were like, if they just came in and gave a patronizing pat and were like, oh, honey, shut the fuck up. It's under control, right? I think it would actually decrease divorces rather than coming in and
Well, I
being
can't
like,
argue that hypothetical.
being like, I have so much anxiety from work, right? Just saying.
Oof. I mean, I don't fully disagree there, actually.
See?
I think this brings up the cultural topic that's kind of rampant on TikTok right now, and it's that women don't want to have to make decisions. It's the idea of the passenger princess. Like, you want to be able to sit pretty and like let the man lead. So I think there's kind of merit to both of what you're saying. But
I
get
mean,
what
I
he's
agree with
saying,
that too.
Yeah.
The one person that I did go on dates with, it's because they were like, we're going to go shooting at this time. Make sure you wear closed-toed shoes, whatever. And as a mom who also solely is the sole financial provider, you're right. I don't
You don't
wanna
have to think.
Tell me what we're doing. But do it nicely, because I'm not going to deal with a condescending asshole either.
The tone. I can't take the tone. Oh my God, the tone.
I mean, I don't.
It's terrible. I'll wake up in the middle. I'll wake up in the middle of the night though, and like smack you and be like, "Oh my God, I had a dream you were cheating." It's like, oh, the tone's fine then, right?
No, I don't do that shit. But do you?
Come on.
Do you
You've
listen?
never done that shit.
No, but do you listen
Okay,
to Bill
whatever.
Burr? Because you kind of like, you seem like you listen to Bill Burr.
I like some Bill Burr stuff.
Yeah. Okay. You just like go into like you kind of sound like him sometimes.
Well, I mean, great minds think alike.
Agreed.
I'm sorry that he stole tons of my comedy bits and has taken them on the road, but I'm not going to hold it against him,
Okay. Okay. Fair.
right?
Going to Yeka, is that how you say your name?
Yes.
Okay. You had perhaps a disagreement. You said that, I think that if you are wanting a traditional relationship with someone who wants to live a biblical life, just because you have a dark past with a high body count, our Father has given us the gift of forgiveness. If you are living a new life, is Desmond on the phone? Are you, huh? If you're living a new life and have been living... Austin, is he on a phone call right now? Are you on a phone call? All right.
No, you're hearing street chatter.
Didn't sound like...
Yeah.
All right. If you're living a new life and have been living a new life for years, that's what should matter. So here, I'll start from the beginning. Just because you have a dark past with a high body count, our Father has given us the gift of forgiveness. If you are living a new life and have been living a new life for years, that's what should matter. Nobody is perfect.
Yeah, I think, God gives us the opportunity to be born again and be new people. And, if you've been living a new life, you let your old self die. I think everybody should deserve, another chance. Nobody's perfect. We all struggle with different things, and like I said, I think we all have an opportunity to let our old selves die and be a new person if we are living in Christ.
Yeah, sure. I think that being forgiven for those things is not only appropriate, but what Christians are called to do, right? Is to ask for forgiveness for their sins, right? That's what they're supposed to do. But you wouldn't say a Christian's obligated to in any way date or not reject a woman based on body count, right?
No, I'm not saying that.
Yeah, so
I'm
like
just saying
if
that
a
everybody
guy
should
was a
have that
Christian and he met with a Christian woman and he really liked her, he thought she was great, but found out that she had slept with 50 men. And he was like, well, that's a deal breaker for me. You don't have an objection to that, right?
No, not at all.
Okay, so then in some ways I think that this is just a cope position. And the reason I think it's a cope position is because what happens is many of these women go from literal online whoredom where they're like doing boy-girl content on OnlyFans, things like this, and they go, oh, well, shit, it's 30, time to get married, drop out of that, and then move over and say, now I'm a Christian. But then they get into the dating market as a Christian, and these men are like, well, I'm still not interested in you even though I'm a Christian, right? Aren't they still setting themselves up for massive failure here? Like, sure, God forgave you. Great. And I'm glad you're a Christian. But I'm still not dating you, right? Isn't that what they're going to say?
I mean, like, even with age, that stuff makes you less optimal than dating. Like you were saying, your childbearing years are when you're younger. So, I'm not disagreeing with that at all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I don't really understand what the point is then. Like, they understand. I mean, Christians understand the forgiveness aspect, right?
Yeah, but not everybody has a perfect past. A lot of people were raised with traumatic life events where they didn't have both parents in the household. They didn't know, what being loved by both parents was, or, grew up with a bad past.
I agree with all that.
Yeah.
But I'm not... Yeah, I don't know. I
think it's probably in reference to the episode that I was on where the girl became a Christian, and then Brian's like, kind of late now. Like, I think that's probably less of the Christian.
He was probably. So if it came to this idea of sexual dynamics, then it's becoming a Christian is not going to erase your sexual history.
I think pretty much only Christians will be the ones if they hold that view that would kind of be forgiving of it.
Oh, they'll forgive it. That doesn't mean that they're gonna. That doesn't mean that they're gonna, put a ring on it, though.
Right, and they don't have to.
So
is that it? That's your position?
Yeah.
So, when you say forgive, okay, so you can be forgiven through your faith or whatever, but you think it's objectionable if men would refuse to date you because of your dark past of a high body count?
I mean, I'm not saying it's objectionable. I just think that other people with similar pasts look at it like it's bad, like, oh, you can't do that, but I can do it, kind of thing.
So, why would that be a problem?
It's it's saying that women can't have bad past, but the guy can have a bad past. I don't think.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's so this just comes down to preferences, right? So it's this idea is, okay, let us assume for a moment you have a man, he converts around the same time you do. Let's assume inside the hypothetical that both of you slept with 1,000 people. Okay, not saying you have, of course not. I'm just saying in the hypothetical, we're just assuming this, right? Doesn't even have to be you, just woman, man, both of them slept with 1,000 guys or people. They converted at the exact same time. They meet each other. They like each other. They both find out that the other one has slept with 1,000 people. It's a deal breaker for the guy, not for the girl. Says, well, wait a second. You slept with 1,000 too. He says, yeah, but I don't care. I still don't want to date you based on the fact that you have. I still don't actually see a problem with that. I can't figure out what the actual issue with that would be. I
mean, I guess everybody has their own preferences, but I I don't think it would be okay if both people have similar dark pasts and one person's like, no, I don't. It's okay that I did it, but it's not okay that you did it.
Well, no. Well, you're both starting from the same slate, though. So you both have been forgiven for the sins, right? So, and you're both pursuing Christianity, Christian ethics, right? Okay. So you're starting equal. So he just says, okay, based on your past, I'm not interested.
Yeah, I don't agree with that. I don't think that's okay.
Why is that not okay?
It's kind of hypocritical.
Yeah, but so what? Why can't you be hypocritical in dating preferences?
Because I think you should hold your...
I definitely 100%, right, think that if you've ever slept with a guy, right, that it would be a deal breaker with you if a guy ever slept with another guy. Would that be a deal breaker?
If a guy that I slept with...
If a guy slept with another guy, would that be a deal breaker for you?
Yeah.
Have you ever slept with a guy? Fucking hypocrite. You tell me, have you ever slept with a guy? Hypocrite. Have you?
Yeah, but not with somebody of the same sex.
So what? You still slept with a man, and he slept with a man. Why would that be a deal breaker, hypocrite?
Because one involves homosexuality and the other doesn't. Andrew,
Well, wait
you're
a second.
better than
Wait.
this. Come on.
Are they both sleeping with men?
Weak argument.
Are they both sleeping
You
with
can do
men?
better.
I'll refute it.
One has to do with homosexuality,
So?
which doesn't align with Christian values.
Okay, wait a second. That wasn't my question. My question had nothing to do with Christian values. My question was, would you ever date a guy who slept with a guy? Answer is no. Okay, but he's expected to sleep with you who slept with another guy. It's like, okay, that would be hypocrisy. Tell me how it wouldn't be.
Because she probably wants men who are attracted to women.
They could still be attracted to women.
She would, okay. Are they?
Only attracted to women.
Yeah.
Okay, great. So what? So we could reduce anything that way, in fact. We could just endlessly make reductions.
Sure, but you should probably, can you give a better,
Why do I
more
need to give a-
closely aligned argument?
As soon as you give a logical refutation of the first argument.
But you were the initial person arguing.
Nope, she was. She said it's a hypocrisy. I gave a counterexample of hypocrisy. You have refuted not my example of hypocrisy.
You're just not accepting that it's a false equivalency.
What's false about the equivalency?
One involves homosexuality, the other does not.
Oh, okay, so anytime that you make an analogy between two things which are hypocrisy, you agree they're always going to be different, right?
Well,
Hang on. You agree with me that anything you compare to anything else is always going to be different than the thing you're comparing it to?
I think you can compare things that are a little bit more closely
Not my
aligned.
question. You're evading.
No, I don't.
Is every instance of hypocrisy is going to be different than another? So anytime you say you're a hypocrite, no, you're a hypocrite, you both have done hypocritical things that are not the same thing. So really don't know where you're...
I think you do know.
No.
But okay.
No.
but in this case, like, I feel like we're like, why would you not sleep with a man who slept with another man? Is it because it's because of the homosexuality, right?
Yeah, that's
Okay.
I'm
Oh,
talking
okay,
about
okay,
biblical-
great.
I'm
If you
talking
weren't a
about
Christian, would
biblical
you?
believing. What's that?
If you weren't a Christian, would you sleep with a guy who slept with a guy? Yeah, probably not. Yeah, probably not.
Yeah, but
So-
it's still about the homosexuality.
Oh, wait.
Oops.
The entailment of the homosexuality here would be it's sinful. If you're a secularist, you can't say it's sinful, right? There's nothing,
Well, I
you would
mean,
just say it's gross. It's
Yeah,
gross.
okay, sure.
Say it's
if,
not
if
your
that's
thing.
what you think.
So there's nothing wrong with having the preference of it's gross, even if you've done the exact same thing.
There's nothing wrong with having the preference of thinking
I
something's
agree.
gross.
So her saying this is hypocrisy, great. This is hypocrisy too.
Well, she can also choose to reject him based on his past.
Correct. Same. Even
Like-
if she had the exact same equivalency.
Like I would do it if the compatibility was there enough, but I don't necessarily want to date somebody with kids. You know what I mean? Even though I have them, so I get it.
How many kids
Fucking
do you have?
hypocrite.
I have two.
You
Damn.
wouldn't date a guy who has kids?
I would if we were like super compatible, but it's not going to be the top of my list by far.
Hypocrisy.
Exactly. Like I'm owning it though.
It's actually fine. Like it's fine to entertain hypocrisy when it comes to dating preferences. I have no idea why it wouldn't be. Like I'll give you a million more examples, right? You probably would prefer to have men who are taller than you.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not requiring like 6 foot or anything.
But you would probably like it, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Would you reject a guy based on the fact that he wasn't taller than you?
Not always necessarily.
No? What if he was bald?
No, I like that.
Okay. What if he was like really heinously ugly?
No, I think there should be some physical attraction.
Yeah, there has to be.
It doesn't have to be like head over heels instantly, but I think there definitely needs to be some sort of.
So you can think of probably all kinds of preferences and traits that you would like, right, to have in the other partner, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So let's back up and take kind of a bird's eye view. When you're talking about an argument from hypocrisy, the reason that it's fallacious to begin with, like, oh, you're a hypocrite, you should do this preferential thing that I like, is because it actually doesn't make any sense. Because whatever standard you're holding them to, you could easily be held to the exact same standard back, and you would likely be a hypocrite when it came to dating. Like, for instance, you would probably think a guy who has brown eyes, it's okay for him to reject a girl who has brown eyes. Is that hypocrisy?
No.
Why? Why not? Why not?
They have a right to choose what
They
they
have
like.
a right. They have a right to choose based on their preferences, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So if they both have the same body count, why can't he just still say, no, it's too high?
I don't know. I think that's a different level of standards that people hold to each other. Like, I guess what my take is, it's just a lot of people overlook the forgiveness aspect. And I'm not saying that if you don't want to make that choice to be with that person because of their past, like, I'm not saying that that's not okay, but, you know, I just think that...
Do you think that people who have assaulted children, have SA children, can be forgiven? I mean, they can be forgiven, right?
They can be forgiven, yeah.
You gonna let them watch your kids?
No.
No. So just because you've been forgiven for a thing, right?
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
Doesn't necessarily mean that suddenly, oh, well, we're just going to look past what you did, right?
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
Yeah.